Doctor Blair Stirling is a Christchurch social worker and counsellor whose organisation worked with children after the earthquakes there in 2010 and 2011. He was out of Christchurch at the time of the mosque shooting, but told Lisa Owen today the terror attack has compounded an already anxious community.
It's trauma on trauma, it's a trigger. And people will respond differently. Some will be taken right back to the original traumas that they've faced. And it's a bugger, to be honest. It's just, how do you express that? You know, we've been knocked so many times and people are strong, but, you know, there's always a top of the cliff for people, and it's these sorts of things that put you off it.
You talked about your own child.
Yeah.
So what happened on Friday?
So on Friday, I just walked out of the funeral, got a text to say what was going on, that the city was in lockdown. We've been through this stuff before with parents trying to get to their children and information. We found out that he was in lockdown, his mother couldn't get to him. He had friends that were able to text their parents, so we heard, but he spent 4 hours on the floor in a classroom with the curtains closed, dark.
And how do you know he's all right? Or how do you know when he's not all right?
Well, that's really difficult. He seems to be coping at the moment. He seems to be making light of it. But that could change. That could change. His biggest thing at the time was how boring it was, but it hasn't really sunk in for him. And nor should it really. He needs to know that he's safe, and he needs to know that it's okay. But it just brings back the memories for a lot of these kids. And he's a pretty, you know, he's an ADHD kid, so to have him lying down for 4 hours is just about an impossibility. But what about the kids that are there in those situations who are quake kids and they suffer from anxiety and stress? You know, this will just, it's just, and how do you work with that, you know? One of the big issues I've seen is, you know, as parents we always like to say, it's a safe place. But actually, I think one of the lessons in Christchurch is actually the world isn't a safe place. Not just this event, but whether it's a natural disaster or whatever. And sometimes in the Western world, I think we're a bit foolish to think that we actually control everything. And I think we need to get back to some good basics. We always see that post-earthquake, these basic values come out. But why does it take an event like this for a disaster? It should be there all the time.
What is on your arm?
On my arm is a tattoo that my sons and I got as soon as we heard the news. And we got it Saturday. And it says stand in English, and we wanted the Arabic word for together. And we were intentional about making sure there's the English and the Arabic to show the relationship and today's date. And we've done that, so it's a commitment to have nothing to do with any sort of racial attitudes, whether that's just a slide comment at the Chinese driver that cuts you off or whatever, and to always remember this, not let it wilt with time and disappear, but actually keep it forefront for us as a family, and to say, hey, we're not going to put up with this. And when I say put up with it, I don't mean just this incident, I mean the violence that goes right through our society in a whole lot of areas, whether it's violence against women, bullying in the workplace, violence against children. Our statistics are terrible. There's a dark underbelly in this country of aggression and violence that is just not, we shouldn't tolerate it. And the only way it's going to be dealt with is if the community actually says enough is enough, stands up against it, and actually is proactive about it.
So that's a permanent reminder to you?
Yep, absolutely.